Good evening, everybody. My name is Sam, back here for another episode of Till the Whistle Blows podcast. We're going to call this episode 10.5 because earlier this week we tried doing something, got only through NFL for 2 hours, but we have more to cover, and we come in with a new guest. Sean, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Of course, we got the webcam ready. We're going on Zoom here, and we've got plenty to discuss that I wanted to go over last time.
Nice.
So one of the things that come up earlier now is the NBA and NHL are ready to get back into gear. The NHL already had their draft. What did you think of what you saw from going on over there? I saw the Rangers got their first pick ready to go.
Well, I haven't kept up too much with hockey, but I know they were getting started soon. But hopefully they can continue to keep things the way they did. I know they're not doing a bubble again, are they?
No, it's no bubble since every team is going to be in it. They have an expected start date of December 1st.
Oh, so yeah, they're gonna get started really, really fast.
Yeah, so training camps should be starting this month for them.
All right. Yeah, I just hope everything just works out for them, and that they're able to complete a season. I wasn't able to look at the draft, but I'm definitely gonna take a look at that. My favorite team on this side, I can't point the right way.
It's all right. It's mirrored.
Is the Blackhawks, so I would love to see them bounce back. Over the past few years, we haven't been looking too good, but I would love to see them bounce back and get things on the right foot.
It's definitely been a rough outing, but the one thing you got to love about hockey, though, doesn't matter how bad you are in the past. Any team can change it in like 5 seconds because I've been watching the Buffalo Sabres for years, and they drastically change year to year, so anything can really happen.
Absolutely. Very true. That's one of the great things about hockey is going into the season, you might have a favorite to win it all, but you never really know who's going to win it.
No, it could be anywhere. Like we just saw the Tampa Bay Lightning just won it. Next year we could see the Rangers come back and win it now.
Right.
So it's going to be fun to watch. Then the NBA, they announced their draft is coming up. They should be next week, the NBA draft.
Or the 18th, sorry.
The 18th, yeah. So What do you think of the draft? Who's going to be making the biggest moves here?
I definitely think, it looks like Timberwolves are going to get the number one pick. But I would not be surprised if some of those teams, like especially the Warriors, the Knicks, try to make a move to try to get that number one pick. But it all really depends on what they are looking forward to as far as their season going forward. Are they looking to be redrafting the same way next year, or are they looking for a piece that's going to take them to the next step and progress them farther along with what they're trying to get done? But right now, the Warriors are the team to watch for me. I think they're a team to watch because we obviously know what their history is over the past few years and what they just went through this past season, not obviously having their big guys, Clay and Steph, and going through a losing season for the first time, and now being able to have a top draft pick for the first time in a long time, and try to get bounced back to be into championship contention. So whatever that means for them, whether that means making this draft pick at number 2 or making a big move in order to trade it or trade it to someone else for someone big, who knows? But I think that'll be the team to watch out for.
Oh, absolutely. I know they've had reports saying they're going to trade down, trade up. The big one I've been looking into, though, the Timberwolves, since they have the number one pick, there's two stories going on right now. They're thinking they're going to get the guy Anthony Edwards or they're going to get LaMelo Ball. Out of both of those options, which player do you think would be the best fit for this Timberwolves team?
See, I don't want to sound like a hater or anything like that, but I think the best fit would be Edwards, only because my thing with Ball is you don't know exactly what you're going to get from him. I feel like he's one of those guys that, I mean, not that Timberwolves are in a, win now situation, but if they're on the track to rebuild and do something with that team, then Melo's the pick for them because he's obviously a great talent. He's smart and he's gotten better over the years, and he's got the height and the smarts for it. But what Melo are we going to get? Are we going to get the Melo that just loves to throw it up and play for the crowd and things like that, or are we going to get a actual NBA pro ready basketball player? And I think Anthony Edwards is already there.
He
I don't
definitely
know.
seems more mature than LaMelo at the
Right.
moment.
Exactly. The talent is unquestioned when it comes to the ball, but the maturity is where I have my questions with him, and that for me it plays a big part. I don't know if it's going to play a big part for the Timberwolves, but I think that's something that they're definitely going to have to pay attention to because obviously you you don't just draft the ball, you draft the whole family pretty
I
much.
was just about to
His
mention
dad,
when you draft LaMelo, you're unfortunately getting his father because we saw what happened with Lonzo with
absolutely
the Lakers. His dad kind of made a big stink, and now look at him. I think honestly, Lonzo got a better deal at where he is right now, but he still got him. He got him kicked out of basically L.A.
right. I agree. I agree. So I think Edwards would be the better pick for them.
Oh, easily. But the big thing that I feel like is going to really hurt this rookie class this year and any free agent is unfortunately after the draft, like a week or two later, they have to go right into training camps because their season starts December 22nd. So that could easily affect what happens with team chemistry going forward for these guys.
I agree 100%. They're not going to be able to have enough time to really prepare for the NBA like a normal season would. They're going to have to get into training camp and be ready and fit. Hopefully, over this time that they've been in quarantine, that they've been preparing, physically and mentally for this, because obviously a lot of us knew that this was going to happen eventually. Like we knew this season was going to be pushed back a little bit, and once it ended, we were going to have to jump right back into it. So hopefully they were prepared for that, and we're able to see that on the court. But unfortunately, I don't think we will. I think just to start off the season, we're going to see a lot of rookies struggle. Obviously, we'll see some of them play well, but to start off, it's going to take a minute for those guys to really get in the groove of the NBA, because we always say around Christmas is when the NBA really starts, and they're pretty much starting at Christmas. So it's going to take a few months for those guys to really get into it. And it's going to be a whole different atmosphere with no crowd being there. So, maybe that helps them. They don't have the pressure of hearing the away or home crowd bearing on their ears, whether they make a mistake or a great play. So a lot of that is going to play into part, but I hope they're ready for it.
Yeah, hopefully. The big thing about what you were just saying with the fans, though, the NBA is saying that teams are allowed to bring fans when they want to. I know the Lakers already said they're not, but so that could be
Right,
definitely a
right.
big one. But the big issue I'm looking at here, because of free agency too, because you already see the reports of what's going on, of what people want to do. Unfortunately, when you bring those people in, you got to build the chemistry real quick. Because there's a report out that came out before we got started here that the Lakers are looking to trade for DeMar DeRozan. Now, say if they get DeMar DeRozan over to the Lakers, that's a quick adjustment period. He's got to be able to mesh well with LeBron and Anthony Davis and accept the new role he's probably going to be in that Kevin Love state. Do you think, like, you got to really be able to do that in that kind of quick time?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that, like you said, chemistry is going to be the biggest thing with all of these teams. They're going to have to really spend a lot of time on and off the court to really understand each other and become, that one unit that you're supposed to be when it comes to teams. You don't want any kind of, breakage, like kind of how like the Clippers had this year.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be one unit, and now you're forced to do it fast. You're forced to do it fast. So the Lakers, though, I think they're in great position to make that work because they have such great leaders
Mm-hmm.
in LeBron and AD. If Rondo comes back, another great leader. So I think DeRozan will be in a great situation if he does, if that trade does happen, if he lands up in LA because of the great leadership they already have. But if, for another team, and I think it would be a lot more struggles for a team that doesn't have a lot of leadership.
It definitely would be. It's so this Lakers team is definitely ready to go. Like the Warriors are still ready to go. But imagine if like a team like the Knicks, because they definitely have like no real leadership over there, or like Brooklyn right now is kind of in a shitty situation. I feel like too with Kevin Durant and Kyrie. We kind of they Kyrie already shows he has chemistry issues to begin with, and now you're really putting a strain on what he can do if Brooklyn brings in any new guys to help him out.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's just going to be from jump with Brooklyn. Um, I feel like with Brooklyn, I mean, of course, you have the talent. We've seen what they did without Kyrie and KD, and now you're going to add both of those guys. But chemistry again is going to be a huge thing for both for everybody,
Hmm.
especially that team, a team that is trying to reach the NBA Finals this year, not just uh,
It's not
try
just
to make the
playoffs for
playoffs.
these guys. They're
Right.
going all the
This
way.
is not one of those things.
Well, they're also bringing in a new head coach with Steve Nash. Now,
Mm.
this is kind of an interesting thing I'm seeing here. So they brought in Steve Nash. They have Amari Stoudemire as one of the assistants, and now they have Mike D'Antoni as the other assistant. Is he trying to incorporate the 7-second offense, and do you think it's going to work for them?
Um, no, I don't think it will work if they are trying to do that. Um, that's a really good question if they're trying to do that. If they are, I really don't think that's a great move for them. Not saying that they have the guys for it, but we haven't seen it work in the NBA to a championship level.
It could
We've
get you
seen
to the
it
conference finals, but it's not getting you to that next step.
exactly. Exactly. We've seen it work with the Phoenix Suns. We've seen it work with Houston, but we've never seen it get to a championship level.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the downfall is. And on top of that, you also got to put into question KD is coming back from an Achilles injury. We don't know exactly what we're going to get from him. He's not going to be the kind of guy that can get up and down the floor and that type of an offense coming off of that type of an injury. I mean, granted, he took a year off, which is great, and it was very smart of him to do such a thing. But we're really going to have to see what he looks like first before they even think about doing an offense like that. But even if they do decide to go with it, I just don't think it's a great move for that team because it just doesn't amount to championship level.
Easily. It just kind of feels like they're trying to. They brought in the old Phoenix Suns, so that's kind of what I'm kind of
Pretty
seeing
much.
from them.
Pretty
But if we really
much.
want to talk about the Phoenix Suns, though, they have reportedly made a huge push to try to trade for Chris Paul. Now, putting Chris Paul with Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton, I think that's going to make a solid big three that'll get them over the top. Maybe not championship,
That's
unfortunately, because they have the Lakers and the Warriors, but it could get them
right.
to like a conference finals.
Right. I think adding Chris Paul would be huge for that team, especially after we've seen what they were able to do their final 8 games in the bubble.
Mm-hmm.
That team looks like a team that's starting to build that chemistry. If they had more time this season, if we didn't go through what we had to go through, maybe that team would have made the playoffs. Maybe they would make the eighth seed. So adding a guy like Chris Paul, I think definitely would put that team in the playoffs. They also went through some little bit of injuries last year, so
Mm-hmm.
keeping that team healthy, you already know what Booker can do, and we know the type of great leader that Chris Paul is. So adding a guy like him, especially what he just came off doing this year with the OKC Thunder, when a lot of teams, I forgot what the percentage was. I think it was 1%
Mm-hmm.
that team made the playoffs.
Yeah, they
And
really counted him out.
right, he did that. He was a few seconds away from making the second round with that team.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to give credit to Chris Paul and what he was able to do, and I still think he's able to do it with a young, talented team like the Phoenix Suns.
I'm going to make an interesting comparison here, but I think Chris Paul right now is becoming Aaron Rodgers, where he's playing mad. Because Aaron Rodgers is angry that they drafted Jordan Love, and I think Chris Paul's getting pissed now after the whole Houston Rockets thing.
Right, absolutely. He feels like his name keeps getting disrespected because he wasn't able to get the job done in Los Angeles with the Clippers.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going through that, and he wasn't able to get it done with the Rockets. But obviously, injuries had a part to do with that. And I believe that if he was healthy with the Rockets that first year, especially, they would have been able to make it. They would have been able to beat that Warriors team. They took them to Game 7. So now age is obviously going to play a part because he is getting older, but I still think that he's still one of the top 10, maybe even 5 point guards in the league right now. So you put some pieces around them, they can make some noise.
Oh, easily, definitely. I think that'd be an interesting trade to make. Right now the Thunder seems to become the Celtics here and getting all these draft picks for assets. And speaking of
Right.
old
Right.
Thunders here too, Russell Westbrook's trying to get out of Houston now already. It's been 1 year and he wants out.
He it makes sense. I mean, it didn't make sense in the beginning for him to be there in the first place. I mean, I understand they were friends and they had a great relationship when they was in OKC and they were able to get to a NBA Finals with KD, but it's not the same team. It's not the same NBA as it was at that time. And these are two players that are ball dominant and they need the ball. And Russ clearly said that. I mean, his style of play really didn't work in that offense.
It doesn't
Rockets
mesh
are
well
a
with
running
them.
gun team, right? He's not a 3-point shooter,
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's looking for something that's more fit for him to have the ball more in his hand and him make the plays. I don't think if I'm him, I don't want to go to a team that's not trying to contend. But at the same time, where could you put him with a contending team where he fits exactly what they need? So that's the big
It's
question when it comes to Westbrook. But if he's looking to just lead his own team, then New York is the place for him.
he's got to go to
Bring
the
him
Knicks.
on over.
We'll have to see what happens when free agency opens up for him and they're allowed to make trades. Um,
Yeah.
I know another big one that we're still discussing too. Philadelphia. The process has officially died. It's gone.
Yeah.
It's over. Doc Rivers is now the head coach, and we have big, big question marks on what they want to do with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid right now.
Yeah, real big set questions for those two. Right now, it looks like they're going to keep it together, but
Mm-hmm.
who knows? Um, right now, I would say you got to move one of them, and if I had to move one of them, I love him, but I would move Ben Simmons.
Oh,
I
I'm
think
100% with you on that one.
right. I think Embiid is too great of a player to get rid of him, and you can. It's much easier to build around him as a center, and as talented as he is as a center, one of the best, if not the best,
Mm-hmm.
center in the game right now, um, than to build around Ben Simmons, who a great player, great defender, but doesn't have a shot,
He
or
he's
and if he
unfortunately a
does
little
have a shot,
one-dimensional.
right, and he's scared to take a shot,
Mm-hmm.
So it's something's got to happen with Ben Simmons, but I still think he can be great and can be on a championship team and still contribute. So, but it's just not going to work here in Philly. It's not going to work in Philly for
No,
him.
he's
So,
got to. We got to find a team for him because the same thing I said with Giannis. He needs someone to stretch the floor with him. Unfortunately, with Giannis, I don't think he's going to win with the Milwaukee Bucks unless you get him someone that can really open the court for him. Unfortunately, because Chris Middleton, even though he's an all-star, he's not the number 2 that he needs.
right.
There is a report that the Miami Heat is going to go all in on him next year, and if they do that, that team will be the most dangerous team I feel like out there.
I agree. I think it'll be them and Brooklyn fighting for the Eastern Conference Finals.
I think
You put
Giannis
them,
and Jimmy Butler would mesh well better than Kevin Durant and
ooh,
Kyrie.
man, that would be real dominant because then you got shooters around Giannis.
Oh
That's
yeah,
what
absolutely.
Giannis really needed.
If they
I mean,
keep
he
their
has
young core
shooters.
too,
Right, exactly. And those are young guys, and you put him in a Eric Spoelstra offense.
oh, that's going to be
Oh,
dangerous. I'm really
it'll
glad
be
the
real
Miami
dangerous,
Heat kept
man.
Spoelstra after LeBron left. He needed to stay for this to work out for them.
Oh man, that team would be real dangerous, and the Brooklyn Nets would have a lot to be worried about with that team.
Oh, easily.
No question.
I think the Nets are probably still worried right now because, look, Toronto Raptors are not a bad team. All they did was lose Kawhi, and they still got far. Just unfortunately,
Yeah,
it's the Toronto curse, and they don't have a champion like that. Maybe if
right.
Giannis even went to Toronto, that's dangerous. Like either two of those teams, and you've got the biggest threat to that Brooklyn team.
Yeah, no question. I mean, I think if you're Giannis right now, you're obviously thinking about championships now. You got your MVPs,
Mm-hmm.
you got your defensive player of the year. Now it's about winning rings. And right now the biggest threat is the Nets. So now you got to figure out where can you go to where you're going to win championships to beat that team. Because right now that's the team to beat.
He's got to
I
get
know
over that hump.
Miami had a run, but who no one's going to guess that they're going to do that again.
Oh no,
No one's going to
absolutely.
guess that they're going to do that again. So if you had to get on a team to beat the Nets, the Raptors and Miami are
Those
great
are
two
like your
teams.
two right there.
Absolutely.
All right, so just to switch gears a little bit, I know we did a lot of football on Tuesday, but I know you're a big football fan. You could tell by the Falcons blanket if you're watching this on YouTube behind me. I'm a big Falcons fan, and I want to discuss this Cowboys game with you. I'm a huge fan of your Instagram page. I look at it all the time, and I saw your huge question of starting Ezekiel Elliott or Pollard. Now, I gave you my response of, who cares? You better tank for the future.
Yes.
I want to know, who do you think should really be starting for them, though?
Well, after thinking about it, my answer is Zeke. Zeke has to be the starter, but I think Pollard deserves a lot more touches because just from watching the games, when Pollard gets in, he's lightning, man. He hits those holes quick. He's getting us big bursts, like 20-yard bursts. And we're just not seeing that Zeke that we saw a couple years ago. Now, obviously, we had a injured offensive line, and it's not the line that we had years ago, but still, Zeke just doesn't look as fast. He doesn't look as quick. He doesn't look like as hungry. He used to eat up those 1 to 2 yards. He used to 1 to 4 every rush. He would get 4 yards. I mean, now it's come down dramatically. And when Pollard gets in there, it just looks a lot different. It looks a lot better. But Zeke, you gotta start Zeke because one, you paid him. You paid him a whole lot of money.
He's got to make that payment right there.
You got to make him work for that money, man. I mean, I know he did it the first few years, but you got to make him work for that money. And if not, obviously you got to trade him. It would make sense. Why not now? Why not now? But Zeke should start, but Pollard should definitely get a lot more touches, and hopefully that puts a fire under Zeke's ass to play a little
get him
harder.
going. Well, here's the problem, though. So the new meta in the NFL is 2 running backs. You always need to have 2. You see it with San Francisco with their rotation. New England's been doing it for years. San Francisco has theirs if they weren't all banged up. The issue I'm seeing with the Cowboys here is Mike McCarthy was a bad hire. He doesn't adapt to the game. He sticks to his old ways. Why? The team has given up on him, except for maybe that game against Steelers. But he's just not the answer. I don't know why he was brought in. Losing Dak for the season 2 doesn't help him either, because that's the hugest blow right there. He's such a good guy too. I feel so sad that I saw him with his ankle the wrong way. It's just something you don't want to watch.
Right, and like you said, Dak was a huge loss for us because it obviously the thought coming into the game is to stop Zeke. So obviously, it's a lot more pressure on Zeke to have big games because now they're putting a lot more people in the box and forcing whatever quarterback we have out there, because clearly we don't have the same quarterback every week.
You went Andy Dalton, Ben DiNucci, and Garrett Gilbert.
Yep.
You had an AAF guy, unproven rookie, and the Red Rifle.
Red
Rifle.
So that's been our luck, but so you can't put it all on Zeke, but he does have to have better games.
He's gonna have to step up. He's now the leader.
And like you said, Mike McCarthy has to coach a better game.
Easily.
I would have I don't want to put it all on him because he's not the offensive coordinator. It's Kellen Moore, and Kellen Moore has been calling those plays for a lot of that. And I'm just not. It doesn't look as good as it did the first 2 years that he was calling the play. So Mike McCarthy has been known to be. Now, last game, it looked a lot better. A lot more trick plays and things like that. That was a lot cooler to watch. But Mike McCarthy, he's been, known to be a offensive guru and, switch things up. So I don't know if that's completely Mike McCarthy. I could be wrong. And if it is Mike McCarthy's offense and that's how it's being run, then you're absolutely right. He wasn't the hire and they need to switch it up. But normally I don't like to blame the coach the first year. I know that the players were blaming him, but a lot of it was effort. So the Cowboys just got to put a lot more effort. And we saw that last game against the undefeated Pittsburgh
Steelers. I know your feelings towards that last penalty they called, but we don't need to talk about it. When you were saying you don't want to judge coaches in their first year, there's only one coach I will say I absolutely hated the hire, no matter what it was. I'm assuming you know what I'm talking about. Adam Gase. That man
Absolutely.
destroys teams, and then when he gets the players out of where they need to be, they're instantly superstars.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Trades them away and they blow up.
Like, look at Tannehill, Minka Fitzpatrick, or even when he left Miami, Devontae Parker is now becoming like a real threat as wide receiver here. Like Kenyon Drake, when he got traded to Arizona, he balled out over there too. Like, he is bad, and I feel bad for Sam Darnold now because you know they're going to get Trevor Lawrence in the beginning. If Adam Gase isn't gone, then Trevor Lawrence's career is probably over right there in the minute.
Right. Absolutely. I feel bad for Trevor Lawrence if that's where he lands. I feel bad for Sam Darnold because his career has been wasted there so far. Hopefully they trade him if obviously they're going to make that move for Trevor Lawrence. But if the Jets are making that move to Trevor Lawrence, which obviously it looks like they are, you got to be able to build talent around him.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be able to keep him safe. You got to be able to keep him healthy. And they were not able to do that with Sam Darnold. So Adam Gase, it starts with you, and it starts up top, but then Adam Gase, it comes to you, and we clearly see that you just aren't a great coach. So.
Well, Adam Gase is definitely checked out because in one of his games, he already admitted he gave up play calling to someone else. So he's checked out. He's done. And if the Jets don't fire him, then I would want Trevor Lawrence to stay at Clemson one more year and wait for someone else to come in.
Yeah, exactly. We don't want to see that talent wasted.
Oh, easily. We've seen talent screwed over like Jamarcus Russell.
Oh, yeah.
So, unfortunately, he did have talent. It's just he was kind of thrown in a bad situation. And it's unfortunate, but I think Baker Mayfield's getting fucked right now, too, because he's got an amazing talent, but he's been with too many coaches in his pro career.
Way too many.
So that's screwing with him right there. Quick question. Are we only 30 minutes on Zoom?
No.
Oh, perfect. Then we can keep going then. I just wanted to make sure because I'm just checking the clock here.
All right.
So, all right, you being in the NFC East, big Dallas Cowboys fan, what is your magic number for any team in this division to win it?
I would say 6. I think 6 wins it.
You
6,
think
7, something like that.
Well, you're going to hate me because on Tuesday I said it was 5. It's going to be 5 wins, and I said it was going to be the Eagles or the Cowboys, but I will smile and laugh so hard if the Giants or the football team win it.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Washington goes on a run.
It would
I really wouldn't.
Look, Alex Smith is coming in, and as long as he doesn't get Joe Theismann again, I think he'll be fine.
Right, exactly. I think Washington, because of that front seven, they can make noise. I mean, it's really a toss-up, honestly. I know you said it's us or Philly, but like you said in the comments, I don't even want to win it.
Exactly.
I'd rather get that draft pick.
You want the draft pick. And this is where I'm mad at my Falcons, because started the year 1-6. Now they're going to go on this magic run. We're going to hire Raheem Morris, who has 19 wins in 3 years, and we're going to be screwed again. Or what's going to happen, too, is the season gets screwed over, where there's going to be 16 teams for the playoffs, and somehow the Falcons will sneak in, and then we're going to be like, oh, I guess the team is good.
Right, exactly. That's what I don't want. I don't want that for the Cowboys. I don't want us to make the playoffs for people to be like, or Cowboy Nation, because we're so proud of ourselves. Just get ahead of ourselves and think that we're a championship contender when we're not. We're nowhere near it.
No, it's hard to see sometimes, but it's going to happen. The Falcons are going to come out of a bye week. They're going to beat the Saints, because I know that's who they play afterwards. And then it's going to be this magic run that comes out of nowhere. And then Dan Quinn will come back somehow. It happens. The same thing with the Mets. The Mets do it too. Huge Mets fan myself.
Oh, yeah. I know the feeling, Mets. Well, things are looking on the up so far with our
new owner, Steve Cohen. He fired everyone. I got to say, that's a beautiful move. I love it. I love to see it. I'm sorry that those people lost their job.
I love it, too. It was needed, and that shows, strong leadership, someone that's really ready to get it done. He said it. He's not. He's trying to get things done
He
within
wants
3 to
World Series in what, like 5 years?
5 years. I love it. I love it. Even if it doesn't happen, I love that he
He's
said
got the
it.
mentality. And it's good to see Noah Syndergaard earlier today. He was throwing out pitches from the mound, and he
Hmm.
seems to be getting ready on the right track here.
Yep. I think we got a great team. We made some noise. We just haven't completed it yet. So
Yeah.
I think we can get there. The
Stroman is
leadership,
signed back on for a year. Cespedes needs to be out the door. He's got to be gone. We're done with
he's
him.
got to go. It was nice while we had
Done
him
with him.
for that 1.5 a year when we made the World Series, but that's about it.
I'd rather get Curtis Granderson back than him.
Absolutely. That was my boy right there.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think he's retired. He's working for Fox or ESPN.
Yep.
Now,
Yep.
last year, this is kind of an interesting hire I saw, but we all know about the Astros scandal, how they were cheating. AJ Hinch lost his job. General manager lost his job. Alex Cora lost his job. Carlos Beltran didn't even get a job at that point. The Mets said goodbye.
Yep.
A year's gone by. The Red Sox bring back Alex Cora. What do you think about that move?
Bad move for them, obviously. If I'm not mistaken, they're still under investigation for their cheating scandal
Yeah,
that's going on.
they were still under investigation.
Right. So bring a guy like him aboard obviously wasn't a smart move. It's only going to bring more eyes to you because he was in the center of all of that. So it's not a good move for them. Not at all.
No, but well, here's the problem too, though. Well, they're bringing him back. AJ Hinch is allowed to come back too, and a lot of teams have been looking into him already, which is kind of interesting. I didn't think he was going to get I thought he was going to get blacklisted here, but apparently
Right.
teams are interested in him for some reason.
I don't know. It's a funny thing. It's a funny thing.
It
Maybe
is
he's
like
good at
he
like-
was easily caught here, and like this isn't the Patriots where like it's like, oh, they were caught, but they really weren't. They were caught red-handed. And then we see it with the Red Sox under investigation, and it almost came to the Mets. I don't get why they thought this was going to be different.
Right. I thought it would have been, 2-3 years time before he even got thought of, because this is huge. This is big. This is broke MLB news for a whole year, and into the future. It'll always be talked about. So
It's still being talked about. Like when we talk about like other cheating scandals, like this isn't Bountygate, this wasn't Spygate, this was like literally like someone like cheating and like using like tools to their advantage.
right, and all of us fans for the most part believe that it cheated the Dodgers out of a championship.
Or it could have easily been the Yankees too. Like they got cheated so much out of this.
Right, exactly. So it was a big cheating scandal, and I don't know how these guys could still show their face in the MLB right now.
I don't know. I thought the MLB was a little too weak on them though. Like it was only a 1-year suspension for the managers. Nothing happened to the players. Like they were very with it, but the MLB is like, nope, got to protect them.
That was the one biggest question that I had on this whole thing, was how the players got nothing.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, Beanball was coming their way, but the problem is,
I just don't understand it.
you see, they cheat and then someone's retaliating because they kind of screwed them. Like they screwed the Oakland A's out of a few of their wins, and they were pissed. And when they decided to do something, it was the A's that got in trouble, not the Astros.
Right.
Joe Kelly, who wasn't even on the team, tried to hit one of them in the head, and he got a 7-game suspension for
I remember that. 7 games. Yeah, I remember that. And that was just bad. And from what I know, the MLB commissioner, he hasn't been doing things well. He just hasn't been running things well, and it needs to change. Something has to change. The Players Association has to do something about it, because it's just not right. These things can't happen and just be swept under the rug. It just can't happen.
Well, I think this is why baseball is falling as a sport, because Rob Manfred is not really doing his job as a commissioner anymore. Like, you see the booming for the NBA. You see the booming for the NHL. You see booming for the NFL, because these commissioners, they're making the right moves. They're taking the right actions. Yes, the NFL got screwed over a little bit with the way they handled Colin Kaepernick, but at least like there was a bit of an effort to kind of rectify that. Rob Manfred sees an interest, like some sort of issue going on. He's like, oh, well, it's bringing in whatever views we get. We got to keep it.
Right, exactly. I think he's thinking more we need them more than we don't need them, and you can't think like that. Baseball will continue to go on. There's always going to be new, young, exciting players to move the game on. So there's no need to try to save face for these players because if they're wrong, they're wrong, and they don't deserve to be in the game. Or if they deserve to be suspended, they got to be suspended.
So something had to have been done, and they did nothing. Luckily for the MLB world, Tampa Bay took them out of the contentions for the World Series at that point, and we watched the Dodgers get their first one.
Right.
In years. Now, there's something I was thinking about for a while now that I thought would be interesting to discuss with you. We see a lot of superstars kind of like on these failing or bad teams. Which player do you think out of all the leagues is really kind of in a shit situation where they're an amazing player, but they're just stuck on this bad team where they can't do anything?
Can you repeat that?
Kind of cut out a little bit?
Yeah.
All right. So what I was saying is you see a bunch of superstars that are on like these like really bad teams or like low market teams. Do you think there's one player out in all of the leagues that is kind of screwed by that, like where they're like a face of a fucking league, but they're stuck on that shit team?
Well, Mike Trout would be one for sure.
That's kind of where I kind of sparked this idea from. I was like, oh, Mike Trout's getting screwed.
I mean, clearly he's probably the best player in, the MLB, and he just hasn't been able to get to sniff the playoffs.
Oh yeah, easily.
And it's like, how can you have such a great player, a LeBron of the sport, not be in the playoffs? That's not good for the sport. It's just not. So that's got to change. He's got to get up out of there, or they got to build that team.
I thought that's what Shohei Ohtani was supposed to be doing for them, was to help them out. But he's panned out to nothing so far.
Right. Exactly. You got to build. That's part of the reason why some of these other leagues like the NBA and the NFL are thriving, because they know that it's more of a players' league. It's a players' league, and in order to make that league thrive, you got to build around those teams, those players, and those cities to make it boom. And if you've got your biggest star in your game, and he's not making the playoffs and his team sucks, there's not many
You're not gonna
eyes on.
Watch. Well, the big thing with baseball too, you see these players, they're signing like 13-year contracts for these bad teams, while in like NFL, NBA, you see like 1 to 5 years. So they're freely able to move around more. While baseball, you're locked in.
You're locked in for a long, long time. You're locked in for a long time.
A-Rod retired off the Yankees like years ago, and they still paying him.
Still paying him, yep.
The Mets are still playing Bobby Bonilla. He's got money coming into like 2025, 2035.
He's been retired for years.
His last game was in 2001, and we're still paying him $1.19 million.
That's nuts.
So that's the problem with baseball. Like
nuts.
You could watch like Kevin Love, who was stuck on the Timberwolves for years, make his way over to Cleveland, get his one, and then get screwed again in Cleveland.
It's not good. It's really not good. You got to change that. It's got to happen.
It is, unfortunately.
You're the Angels or you're the MLB. You got to figure out a way to make your star players shine in the greatest cities and be on TV more. There's 162 games in baseball. You got to be able to put him on
get something
TV
out there
as much as possible. Absolutely.
Well, you always see these young guys now, like Ronald Acuna Jr., who's like blazing it up in Atlanta. Like he's probably one of the best young players out there right now. Once he signs a contract and if he's stuck in that Braves organization, you see it with every Atlanta team. He's going to be choking for years.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just not good. You don't want to see your star players be on bad teams and not do good. It's just not good for your sport.
Yeah, there's a reason why LeBron left Cleveland twice now.
Exactly. He knew what time it was.
No one wants to lose. That's the thing. Like, and if you're not going to help the team, like you see, like Kristaps wanted to get out of New York, Carmelo wanted to get out of New York. You see, like everyone wanting to leave these teams.
And it was looking at it now, it was a great move by them. Everyone was mad at Melo for leaving New York, but now they look at it and say, "Well, Melo, we don't blame you now.
Yeah.
you made the right choice because we're still stuck in that same place or we're worse.
They're worse. Their best player is Mitchell Robinson, and he's
Yep.
not even he's not really the best center in the league.
No, he's not.
What, they ruined Frank Ntilikina?
Yeah. Yeah.
The Knicks are they're just bad for the team, like for the players. They're bad for anyone who wants to walk into that organization.
And it's bad for the NBA, even though the NBA is still thriving. The NBA thrives more when the Knicks are good, when the Knicks mean something. So that's like the Lakers winning the championship is huge for the NBA because it's the NBA. The Lakers and the Celtics and the Chicago Bulls and the Knicks thrive in the NBA because they're such big markets.
Oh yeah, they want those markets.
Like those teams are winning. Yep.
And I gotta say, in the 2000s, like it was nice to see like that San Antonio go on their 5 championships too, because that helped them out as well.
Exactly. You got to make moves to make, your business, your organization better with rings and everything else.
Yeah. Now, speaking of making leagues and organizations better, I was discussing this. I had my friend Cary, who joins me for our football talks. I was talking about the Cowboys, and I figured, you being probably the biggest Cowboy fan I know, I say, if Jerry Jones wants to win right now, why don't you bring in Colin Kaepernick?
Great point.
Not to get the political side. We're not going to talk about that. We know politically reasons why Jerry Jones isn't going to do it. But on a pure NFL standpoint, he brought in Garrett Gilbert and Ben DiNucci over Colin Kaepernick.
You're absolutely right. I can't disagree with you. If it's about winning and it's about getting to the playoffs, then why don't you go get a guy that's been there and done that? I mean, he's been to the champion. He's been
to a Super Bowl, and I bet you if he comes back right now, he's not going to be like what he was at the end of the 49ers, like his 49ers time, where he was throwing 2 for 5 with 3 interceptions. He's probably going to come back and play like a pissed off Aaron Rodgers.
Absolutely. He has a chip on his shoulder, and just to prove to all those other teams that didn't believe in him that this is a great way to do it. And like I said, he's been there and done it. So why not give him a chance? He's obviously better than the quarterbacks that we have now.
I honestly would say he's better than Andy Dalton. He's better than an unproven Ben DiNucci. He's better than this Garrett Gilbert, and he's better than whoever the 4th string guy is. Unless Greg Zuerlein is taking snaps under center, who else you got?
Exactly. And I would guarantee that if we picked up Cap today, we would win the division. No question.
Oh, easily. Because he's going to that is probably the easiest division to win right now. You've got that.
Oh, no question.
They're going to easily roll through it.
Yep. Because we have the talent.
You do. That's the thing. Like, you have CeeDee Lamb, who's this receiver core, by the way, this rookie receiving year, like Justin Jefferson, all them, this is probably the best one you've seen in years.
Yeah,
but like absolutely. You have CeeDee Lamb, you have Amari Cooper, you've got Zeke in the backfield with Pollard. Like this offensive unit should be clicking better than they've been.
They should be a lot better than we have. You got Gallup. We had an opportunity with Dak to have a 1,000-yard receiver, 1,000-yard rusher, or 2,000-yard receivers and a 1,000-yard rusher. So we had it there. We could have had Amari, CeeDee Lamb get 1,000, maybe even Gallup get 1,000.
Could have had 3 receivers with 1,000.
3 receivers with a 1,000-yard rusher.
It's just sad to see. Like that Dak injury was just rough.
It was devastating. It was very devastating. I mean, before that, I was really hard on the Cowboys because we were losing. We had 1 win at the time, which was against your team.
We're not going to talk about how that special team can't play
I had
special
to
teams.
Bring it up one time.
Look,
I had to bring it up at least.
If we're going to bring up that game, jump on the ball before it comes to you. I don't know why everyone was looking at it. You can look nice in your uniforms all you want. Jump on the ball.
Jump on the ball. That's all they had to do. That was one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
It is. Sadly, 28-3 is still in our culture.
One of the only highlights of our album.
28-3 is our culture right now with Dan Quinn.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. That has a lot to do with coaching.
Oh, easily.
No question.
So I ask this to everyone who either talks to me, comes on the show, or whatever. But for you,
Mm-hmm.
best division in football right now.
Oh, best division right now in football. I'm going to say
It's a tough one.
it's either the AFC North or the NFC. You know what? I'm going to go with the NFC West.
You going with NFC West?
I'm going to go with the NFC West because you got Seattle, who's
Mm-hmm.
doing great. But they have their problems on defense
Their defensive
clearly.
woes.
You got Arizona. Yeah, right. You got Arizona who made a huge step this year with adding Hopkins and Murray making that big step in his second year. Defense gotten better. That team
Mm-hmm.
just looks a lot better this year under Kyler Murray. You got a Rams team who looks a lot better than they did the previous years. They're
Oh,
not as
definitely.
great as they were the Super Bowl year, but they do look better than they did last year.
Oh, yes.
They got rid of Gurley, got some other guys in there. Um, not a decent team. And then obviously you got the 49ers who are going through their injuries. But if it wasn't for that, I think they would be
They
another
would
decent team.
probably be still like the top team if they had
Right.
everyone.
If it wasn't for injuries, they would definitely be in the mix.
If they didn't have
No
$80 million locked up in injuries, that'd be great.
question. Right, exactly.
That's just
But
sad.
yeah, three out of those four teams are solid teams. You can get three. You can get possibly three teams out of that
Oh,
to go
easily.
to playoffs.
And with this, with the new format, I'm pretty sure you can get all of those teams probably can sneak in, besides maybe the 49ers, who are going down.
Right. Absolutely.
Now,
Absolutely.
you always see power rankings week to week. Who's your number one team?
My number one team would be the slept on Kansas City Chiefs. I feel like they've been slept on this year because everyone is just so used to what Patrick Mahomes and that team is
Yeah,
doing. But they are quietly doing some great things on that team.
I wouldn't say quietly.
They
Patrick Mahomes makes it loud and clear what he's doing. Now,
right, but
this is going to be.
he doesn't get talked about enough.
He
I feel
doesn't
like.
know because he's Patrick Mahomes. But the one
Right.
thing I like to bring up when we're talking, because when I'm with my buddy Cary, he always gets mad at me when I do this, but I am on the Bills hype train. I am
Okay.
with it. I think they're gonna go far. They're gonna win they're gonna win the division. I didn't think the Dolphins were gonna do what they were do, but the Dolphins will still fight them. But they're gonna win it and they're gonna go far. Do you think they can make the Super Bowl the way they are right now?
I think they can make it far. I don't want to. I don't won't go as far as to go Super Bowl. I think they have a shot to make it to the championship round. I can definitely see that, but I just don't see them beating a Chiefs team.
Yeah.
Who else would they possibly see?
They got
Well,
Tennessee that they go through. They got Pittsburgh they could
they got
possibly go
Tennessee,
through.
you got Pittsburgh, you got the Ravens. So the AFC is still tough, but I can definitely see them
That Bills
maybe
team.
knocking off the Ravens first round because I'm starting not to have so much trust in Lamar Jackson.
I was gonna say,
Uh,
that Ravens team, like they definitely have taken a step backwards. Like he's not MVP Lamar Jackson right now. He's Michael Vick on the Steelers.
Right. Great point. Great point.
Yeah, like
I think teams are starting to actually figure him out.
Yeah,
they got
definitely.
tape on him now. That's normally what happens. It takes a year for NFL defense to read you, but now they got tape and they can figure out what you like to do and what you're good at, what you're bad at, and force you to do what you're bad at. And for that, right now, it's not that he's bad at it, but he's just not. It's not his strongest feature, which is passing the ball.
He's
When he needs to do it, he's just not that guy. So
now. I remember I bumped
Sorry.
into you probably a few weeks ago, and we were talking a little bit, and I was talking about
Yep.
this Ravens offense, and I mentioned to you the Ravens. I think what the Ravens need is a number one receiver to really spread out the field for Lamar Jackson. Antonio Brown now gone. They brought in Des Bryant. Do you think Des Bryant can help them turn that season around, like get them kind of back into normal?
I don't know how much of a big difference he'll make, but I think he will make somewhat of a difference. If he can still be that Des that throw it up to him, and he'll go up and catch it. If he can still do that at the minimum, that will be something for them because, like you said, they need a number one receiver.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he can be a number one. I think he can still be a number two. And I don't even want to go as far as put him in a slot because he doesn't have that speed and agility.
He's way too big of a guy to be a slot receiver.
Right.
Like the problem though with the Ravens receiving core is they have way too many slot and two guys. Like Hollywood Brown isn't really the number one. Willie Snead definitely isn't a number one. I don't even actually remember who their other receivers are, but they're just like not really existing.
I agree with you. Can't even think of their other receivers besides
those two.
Tight end Andrews. Right.
They dump off to the running backs and like they haven't like good tight ends. They just need like a real number one receiver in that team. Like you kind of saw them falter with the Colts. Like that was a close game against them. It's just the Colts Phil Rivers kind of showed his age a little bit where that kind of screwed him.
Of course. And that's why I picked the Ravens. Normally, if they had another quarterback, I probably would have picked the Colts to win that game.
Yeah.
But because Phillip Rivers was back there, not saying that he's completely horrible, but he's going to make his mistakes. And now that he's getting older, he's going to make more mistakes. So it's what we see with him.
He's turning into Eli Manning.
Yeah, absolutely. The age is definitely starting to show.
His age is showing. But it's just crazy to think, though. Like, he was slinging it, and those Chargers teams kind of let him down. Like, if you remember that 2010 season where special teams screwed him.
Yeah, absolutely. He went through some seasons where they really thought it would have been championship or bust. And unfortunately for them, it was bust a lot of times.
It was.
They had some great, talented teams, great players. LaDainian Tomlinson, Gates, Edwins. I mean, they had so many great players.
They still do.
Just was never able to get
I was going to say, they always get these amazing players, but they find a way to choke it. Like Joey Bosa, I feel like is going to get a wasted career now. Derwin James is on that way. Keenan Allen's getting screwed. Vincent Jackson was screwed.
Right. The only thing with that team now is I think there's still hope with
Herbert.
Herbert. He's amazing. I think him and Burrow are at the top when it comes to rookie of the year right now.
Oh, easily.
Herbert is playing amazing. They should have a lot more wins on their record right now, but they are famous for blowing leads right now.
Excuse
Something kind of like the Falcons.
I have a different team over here that'd like to beg to differ with you.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, the Chargers should be a lot better if they're smart and they build around that team because they have a great talent in that quarterback.
Oh, definitely. Now, we're going to flip the script here. We're talking about the number one team. We're going to exclude the Jets on this next question because it's clearly obvious that they're the worst team. Who would you say the worst team is, excluding the Jets?
Jacksonville.
Yeah.
I would say my Cowboys, but they have a talented team, and
I can't say Cowboys because they have a good team. It would be between, honestly, Jacksonville or the football team.
Or the football team.
Because unfortunately, yes, they have a front seven, but what else do they got? They have Terry McLaurin, and then no one's throwing them the ball.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I can't say any more than that. Washington, they thought they had their quarterback in Haskins, but he needed to stay a few more years at Ohio State.
He did.
He just had 1 year, so that's
the problem is, I think Jay Gruden was the one who wanted him. They let him go, and now Ron Rivera doesn't want him. So you just shot his confidence at that point.
Very, very true.
His confidence is shot. He's not going to want to do anything anymore. And you kind of, I feel like the Giants are kind of, the Daniel Jones experiment seems to be coming up to an end too.
Yeah, it is. They got to build around. They got to get an offensive line to keep him up. He's been hit so many times. He's probably one of the top 5 hit quarterbacks in the league. I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, easily. And since he lost Saquon, he's got no one really to kind of give him a safety valve or to really, get them to really focus that to open a receiver.
Absolutely. They gotta fix that offensive line. They gotta get Saquon back healthy and get a few more guys at the receiver position because those guys haven't been that great this year either.
Well, Golden Tate's having chemistry issues himself since he clearly does not want to be on the team anymore.
Yep. I figured that would happen.
Oh, easily. Well, he's supposed to be replacing Odell, but he's not. He's no Odell.
You can't replace that type of talent.
You really can't. Like he was
It's all-
catching everything while being smothered, and you're expecting old Golden Tate who doesn't seem to have any chemistry with anyone to come in your locker room.
yeah, exactly. He had great years in Detroit with Stafford, but it's not going to work with the
Daniel Jones,
quarterback and
Mr. Turnover Machine
yeah,
himself.
Mr. Danny Dimes, Mr. Turf Toe.
He's fumbling the ball every play. It seems like so.
Yeah, he can't hold the ball, but I can't blame him all of it on him
No, you
because
really can't.
again, that off
He's got no time to
has
really set himself.
yeah, it's tough to be a quarterback without an offensive line.
It is. Now, the one team I always like to bring up, no one likes to talk about them, the Houston Texans.
Oh, the Houston
The
Texans.
Houston
Let's
Texans,
bring
they
it up.
seem to be swept under the rug now because Bill O'Brien ruined them. But I always like to bring them up because you know what? I liked the idea that he had, but he did it poorly. He traded
He
away his
did.
number one receiver to get David Johnson, who hasn't had a good year since 2016. You've got Brandon Cooks, who's jumping from team to team, Will Fuller, who's always hurt, and Randall
Yep.
Cobb, who's old. No offensive line because you put it on Larry Tunsil over there, and he's out. And then your defense is looking like crap.
Yep. Houston, we have a problem.
You're not wrong.
We really have a problem. I
But
mean, just for everything that you said, and then you go on to the defensive end, and your best player there, he's not happy,
mhm.
and he can't stay on the field.
He
And
seems to be hurt every
it's
year now.
just so sad to see such a great player like him have his time and his talent wasted with all these years of the turmoil that they have gone through
Mhm.
in Houston. It's sad, but I would love to see him go to another team, a team that's contending. And it seems like he agrees with that because in his one of his interviews, he said he wants to play for a championship team. He wants to contend for a
Yeah, he
championship.
wants to win. Like
Um,
he's in the playoffs every year because he was in a bad division. Like what quarterbacks did he go into the
right.
playoffs with? Brock Osweiler and some no name guy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. They've had their chances, but it just hasn't worked out, and that's part of the reason why I never really had much trust in the Houston
You
Texans.
can't buy into
I
them. Like
knew every year you just can't. You can't. That, like you said, that division hasn't been great, and they got in, they snuck in, and then usually they always have to see the Patriots the first round, and you already know how that always
I
works
was gonna
out.
say,
So
they get in the wild card. They play a team that doesn't that was supposed to be there. They beat that team because they're at home. They travel to New
yep,
England or one of these other teams that you're gonna smoke them, and then they're out. Like before
yep,
Deshaun Watson, their best quarterback was Ryan Fitzpatrick.
yeah,
You can't tell me
absolutely.
like honestly, if the Cleveland Browns weren't what they were, we would be saying the Houston Texans couldn't keep a quarterback forever.
Very true. Very true.
It's
It's
just,
very
it's
interesting how that
ridiculous with them.
all works out. Yeah, but Bill O'Brien definitely needed to go because sometimes trying to give someone so much power, it only just messes their head up even more.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
it never made sense for me for them to give him as much power as they did because he didn't do anything to deserve it.
He was at Penn State. I don't know how much you keep up with college because I could like maybe
Yes,
like scrape the rock a little bit, but I'm not too in. But he did
right.
turn a Penn State around after the whole scandal with Joe Zandusky. So I think that's kind of
Yep.
where they gave him the power. It's like, oh, you were able to do this with the school. Here you go. But it's like you kind of like that's the issue I have with these college coaches. You see them do it in college, but that doesn't translate to the pros. Like you saw with Chip Kelly
Exactly.
when he was in Philadelphia. They gave him a lot of power, and look what he did. He got rid of LaShawn McCoy. He got rid of Deshaun Jackson, and you're starting from scratch again.
Right. Exactly. And they got rid of him. Things like that doesn't always transfer. It takes time. This is the NFL. These are professional players. coaches, staff, owners, they know what they're doing. And they've been doing it for years. So for you to come in and think that what you did in college is going to translate like that, it's just not going to work. We've seen it time and time again. It just doesn't. It doesn't work. It
Unfortunately,
takes time, talent. It takes a lot of uh, putting together.
I was gonna say you kind of mentioned that Arizona is kind of trying to bring a college offense into the pros right now. It seems to be all right, but we got to see what it is long term. Like, will this
Right.
tactic stick around? Like, honestly, I feel like if they didn't get DeAndre Hopkins, we wouldn't be talking about the Cardinals the same way we are talking about them right now. If Bill
I agree.
O'Brien wasn't that much of a blockhead, we probably wouldn't be discussing anything like this.
I agree 100%. And like you said, it takes um, over a period of time. Is it going to last in Arizona? We see it. It's working right now. It looks nice, but is it going to last? Because that's the biggest question. Yeah, it may last for a year or two, but is it going to be something that you can build your franchise around for the next 5 to 10 years? That's the big question. And
It's
for the
going to be a
most,
huge question. And, if we're talking about college offenses, I think Kyle Shanahan's offense, I think, is kind of the best offense for the NFL because he could turn any quarterback or running back into like these amazing players. Like you saw it with Matt Ryan. He had a good year. When he was in Washington, all those quarterbacks in Cleveland with those guys. And now with San Francisco, where he's turning these players into what they, into like better players.
absolutely, what he's doing in San Fran is amazing. Utilizing his talent in the best way possible that
Mm-hmm.
he can. He's putting all the guys in the best position for themselves and the team. That's a good coach. It's someone that knows, all right, he'll be good here. He'll be good here. Well, we have all this group. Let's utilize them to their best abilities as one, not just as individuals, but as one. And you see it work almost to get them a championship last year
Mm-hmm.
if they didn't have to go up against a great offense in Kansas City Chiefs. And unfortunately, their quarterback, Jimmy G.
I was gonna say he's I like Jimmy. He gets injured too easily. He's got the legs of pencils.
Yeah, Jimmy G is not the answer. He's a decent quarterback, but I don't know if he's a championship quarterback.
Do you think he'd be doing a better job than Cam Newton if he stayed in New England right now?
That's a good question. I think he would probably have more success only because he would be more familiar with that offense by
Mm-hmm.
now. Being there as long as it would have been like what 3 4 years now.
I think he would
His
have been about
relationship,
a little, like maybe 5 actually. I think.
yeah, something like that. And he's had success being in that offense already. We've seen it. Um, But the big question is, since we're talking about this year, that team has a lot of holes in it this year. There's
Easily.
that defense is the same. Um, that offense clearly is the same it was last year with the receivers not being able to get open and things like that. So um, he might be more successful than, as far as stat wise, maybe more successful, but I don't know about getting to the championship like
Well,
he did
honestly,
with San. I
it
think he
seems
had
like as you're saying they're holes. It seems like the Patriots are selling instead of buying right now, because at the trade deadline they were trying to get rid of Gilmore, who's like their number one guy, and they're just
Yep.
trying to shop around and do whatever they can to do some stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Bill Belichick sees the writing on the wall that this season is not what he thought it would have been. I think he was maybe still competing for the division,
Mm-hmm.
but like you said, it looks like that's going to be the Bills' division to take, and it's time to look forward to next season. And we know if anybody's ready to prepare for next season, it's definitely Bill Belichick.
He's probably thinking about what he wants to do with Cam. He's probably going to try to get rid of him at this point. I don't think
Right,
Jared
right.
Stidham's
That's
the
gonna be
answer either, so he's probably going to look into the quarterback pool of the next year here. I know with Trevor Lawrence probably coming off the board first, I think they're thinking maybe Justin Fields might be their answer.
Justin. Yep, absolutely. Justin Fields is another great quarterback coming out of the draft. this season. Um, Big guy for me because I'm an Ohio State fan, so I'm definitely going to be rooting for Justin Fields.
I'm sorry to say this next comment, but I'm not sold because we always see Ohio State quarterbacks kind of
Yeah,
fail in the NFL. And I said the
this
same
is
thing
true.
about Sam Darnold with USC because they seem to not be able to get any quarterbacks either.
This is true. This is very true. Ohio State, they play great. We have
Yeah, I think you cut out a little bit. I think, yep, I think you cut out a little bit there. Oh, jeez. Where'd you go?
sorry, you're out
Yeah, I was going to
again.
say you cut out during the whole Ohio State thing where they don't make quarterbacks.
Oh yeah, I was saying we don't make great quarterbacks, but we make great running backs.
Oh, easily. Like, look at Zeke.
Exactly. Exactly.
But yeah, I was saying, like, USC doesn't do it either because when Sam Darnold came around, a buddy of mine was like, "Oh, Sam Darnold, he's going to save the Jets." I was like, "How are you going to say that? You've seen the best USC quarterback be Carson Palmer. He hasn't done anything either."
Very true. Very true. Hey, it's a different ball game when you get to the NFL.
It is,
It's
and
not the
like
same game. It's completely different.
you got to see what happens. Like, I honestly think Clemson seems to be like one of the good places for players to go because he seems to be pumping out some good players. Like Grady Jarrett for the Falcons, he was like a 7th round pick, and look at him. Deshaun Watson was a
Hmm.
1st round pick. He seems to be doing solid. Alabama too seems to be like pumping out receivers.
They are the NFL pro team, pretty much. I mean the NCAA pro team.
Yeah,
They send NFL players every year, and they're sending 5 to 10 of them every year. So
honestly, you could probably switch out Alabama for the Jets, and they'd be probably playing better.
pretty much, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. Those guys are ready.
Nick Saban knows what he's doing. I feel like if we had Nick Saban versus Bill Belichick, that would be the battle for the ages right there.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, that would be special. That would be very special to watch.
Oh, absolutely.
Two great quarterbacks. Coaches.
We could do Tom Brady versus Tua because Tua seems to be the next big deal right now.
Tua, right now, you got a long way to go to catch Tom Brady.
Oh, absolutely. But he's got 2 solid wins already in there, and it wasn't even him. It was his defense that won it for him.
Hey, when your defense steps up like that, there's nothing better to be in that type of position as a rookie quarterback to have some backup with your defense stepping up for you.
Now imagine if Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert had that.
Woo! Those would be two different teams right now
Oh, easily.
if they had that.
Well, the
Two different
Bengals actually
teams.
did sign a defensive clown, if you want to talk about that, because my Falcons released Tack McKinley on Monday. They waived him. Bengals picked him up, immediately tweeted, "Bengals suck." I love the way he's going.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, good luck to them.
Yeah, they're going to have a fun time. He had like, 10 sacks in 4 seasons? Way to go,
Yeah,
1st round pick.
that ain't good at all. That ain't good at all. But that team, they're gonna have a bright future. They're gonna have a bright future.
They're probably going to keep Tack for the end of the year. They got rid of Carlos Dunlap, so they're definitely
Yep.
they're fixing the defense now. They're doing something.
You do, especially you got an offense that's putting up points with Joe Burrow. Fix that defense up a little bit.
Yeah, like I wasn't expecting anything out of T. Higgins, and he popped up out of nowhere.
Right. Yeah, I figured he'd do a little something, something. Especially with Burrow doing what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
It was only right for him for those two to click.
Well, also it's not helping that AJ Green and John Ross both went out.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate because those are two great talents for Joe Burrow to have. If you were able to have all those pieces there, that would be great for their future.
Well,
But if you
it
could
would be
have
nice if AJ Green can stay on the field though. That'd be kind of nice for that.
that too, that definitely would help a whole lot, a whole lot.
It
Red
easily
Rifle
would.
would account for that.
Now, I'm going to ask you this weird one because I heard a report. I heard someone talk about this. I thought it'd be interesting. What if you made AJ Green a tight end? Do you think that would work in any way for him?
No. I think it would be interesting, but I don't know if he's fit for that. I don't know if he
He's missing some
is
muscle,
ready
I
for
feel
that.
like, for that one.
Yeah, you got to put on some weight and some muscle because now you're talking about blocking. Now you're adding blocking,
Yeah.
serious blocking, not running out to a corner, uh, blocking a 5'8" corner compared to a 360 pound 6'5" D end.
He's going to get
So
bowled over
and
a
those
few
guys,
times.
you got to put on some weight, you got to put on some muscle, you got to know the position as well because offensive line is not just block the guy in front of you. There's a lot of movement, there's a lot of reads and things like that. So I don't know if that would be the position for him, but he definitely has the athleticism and the talent for it.
Oh, easily. Just I feel like he needs a role where he can stay healthy. He really can't be like the number one anymore, I feel like.
Yeah. I think, yeah, like you said, it has a lot to do with injury. He's got to have to stay on the field and make himself available. That's the only way you're going to be able to get these contracts. The only way you're going to be able to try to win games is if you're available.
He's probably gonna he might become a journeyman after the season.
Unfortunately, and that sadly is the truth for a lot of these guys. When they end up on a team for a long time and they're a great talent, but they can't stay on the field, they can't get a lot of W's. Well, teams are going to start to think about moving you. And once you're moved once, you can be moved again.
Yeah, definitely. You see it with Fitzpatrick. You see it with Joe Flacco is becoming a journeyman right now. Josh
Yeah,
McCown was when he was around.
absolutely. It happens. It happens to even the legends. You know, T.O., one of the greatest
He was a journeyman, yeah.
receivers of all time, ended up on 5 or 6 teams. You know, it's just part of sports. Once that time comes to where you're not that guy anymore, you're gonna take a few trips around the country.
Easy. Randy Moss was he traveled from team to team a lot.
Yep, it happens to the best of them. It's just the way sports work, not
Yeah, it
just at
is.
the NFL sports.
Oh, easily. It's all over the place.
Yep, no question.
So before we wrap things up, I would like to talk about what your thoughts are on the way sports are going now. We know we're in a bit of a pandemic right now. What leagues, what notes do you think they've been doing? Like, what are they doing well? What haven't they been doing well? Like, what are your thoughts on the
Well,
way they're handling it?
as of right now, well, let me rewind and go back to how the leagues were doing it while they were in the bubbles and things like that. Um, really, in the midst of COVID, the NBA they did a phenomenal job with the bubble. No positive test. Um, you had a guy or two slip up and make some bad moves and bad decisions, but it for all everything worked out. Same with the NHL. Great job. No positive tests. Everyone followed the rules and it worked out. The NFL, they're going through their troubles right now. We've seen it already. A lot of rescheduled games. Um, a lot of dates moved. A lot of players catching it. Each and every week we're finding out new players catching it, and it's not just regular roster guys. These are big names. Big Ben, we're just finding out that is might have
Mm-hmm.
caught it. There's so many other players that might have caught it, and it's going to affect their teams and their sport. And what that means for the team and the owners is money and playoff spots and wins and W's. So um, it's important on how you manage this thing. I think the bubble is the most important way to do it because it's obviously worked, but obviously, the owners are not trying to hear that. They're trying to make some money as well.
Mm-hmm.
They just took a big hit this past year. So I understand that. But going forward, the NBA, we already know they're going back to their arenas and they're going to allow a few fans in there. But as long as we're allowing all these things and not putting enough restrictions on players to, where they can go and things like that, we're going to see this happen. So I wouldn't be surprised when the NBA starts, we start seeing those COVID numbers going back
Mm-hmm.
up in there. Um, pretty much wherever there's sports. If there's not a bubble form, I think we're going to see positive
You're gonna
tests.
see the spike.
You're going to see the spike, and it's going to affect the sport. It's going to affect games. It's going to affect money. It's going to affect a lot of things. So, um, I don't know. It's going to be really interesting, but I just hope that they do something to where we can continue to, see these games and
Hmm.
see these sports played out because obviously it sucked not having sports those 4 or 5 months that
It was rough, it was not easy.
it was yeah,
Now,
especially for guys.
do you now in baseball? I don't know if you noticed this or read up on it, but when they were traveling around, the teams were supposed to be in lockdowns in hotels. Players on the Cleveland Indians were out partying instead. They came back and they were sent home.
Yep.
Now, great move by them, but should have I feel like they should have, for my opinion, maybe that should have been the end of their season right there, and they should have been done since they couldn't keep protocol, and they should have lost their year's contract for that. I don't know how you feel
um,
about that.
I think I think that's very interesting. I think the reason why they wouldn't be able to do that is because it would probably mess up a lot of other things
Oh, easily.
behind that. So I think the ripple effect of taking out a team would really mess up a lot of
Oh, no,
things.
no, no, I wasn't talking about the team. I was talking about the players that were there.
Oh, the players
Yeah, the players
themselves.
who
Oh,
went out, they
actually,
should have been canceled for the season.
absolutely. I agree with that 100%. Absolutely. If you're not going to follow the rules that are set in place, especially with what we're going through right now,
Hmm.
and it's not a joke, it's a serious thing we're going through, and it's a health risk that people are dying from. You got to take it serious, and you got to set an example for the rest of the league. When you set an example like that, like you said, hey, you don't want to listen to the rules, you're done. I think I said the same thing on one of my podcasts about Lou Williams on the
I was
Clippers when he
just
went.
about to ask you about Lou Williams, since he went
Yep,
to a strip club for chicken wings instead of
yep.
going right
I
to the
was
bubble.
right when it happened. I said the Clippers or the NBA should say that's it. You're done. You're not going to enter the bubble. You're out of here. I'm pretty sure the Rockets did that with House, I
Yeah,
think his
Daniel
name was.
House, he got sent
Daniel
home.
House. He got sent home after that, deservingly so. If you're not going to follow the rules, it's not just a team rule. This is a league rule because of how serious this pandemic is. This is
Like,
not
you're
something
locking
that's
yourself in with a bunch of people, and you have a responsibility at that point to keep everyone safe.
right. It's a health issue. This is not, something that's personal. This is a health worldwide issue. And if you don't take it serious, people are going to be affected and possibly die because of your actions. So people made a huge deal about it when what's his name from
Rudy
the
Gobert.
Jazz, Rudy Gobert. They killed him for it, not literally, but
No, like
they
he didn't take it seriously, and then look at what happened to him.
right. They destroyed his name on the internet and throughout the media because of that, because they know how serious it is. I
Hmm.
think it should be the same for any player in any sport. If you're not going to take it serious, if you break rules, then you deserve to pay severe consequences because there are people out in this world right now that are paying serious consequences from this virus. So you got to take it very serious. It's
Yes,
bigger than
and honestly,
basketball.
out of all the people who seem to break the rules, Rudy Gobert was the only one to actually list a formal apology. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
that takes a lot for a person. Like, I respected him for
Yep.
doing that, but like, why? Where was Lou Williams' apology? Where was the guys from the Indians? Where were their apologies? Like, what? Why was Rudy Gobert the only one that stepped up here?
Exactly. I think everybody's got to take accountability for their actions because they got to think about it. These are big name guys. Most of them are big name guys. Most of these guys are superstars. So when you're one of those guys, especially like a Lou Williams, where
Hmm.
your name is known all throughout the NBA because of how big of a person you are and how great of a player you are, when you set an example, everyone else follows in place.
They
You
want to
know,
be like their favorite players, and
exactly.
you cannot do something like that. Like
Right.
Javon Wims,
So,
like he's not a big name player, but imagine if he was, and you just saw him run up to Roby Coleman and rip off his chain and just start punching him. Like that's first of all, that's
right. You
assault.
can't.
What he did, that was assault. He was nothing to do with that one.
Right. That was horrible. That was just dumb of him to do that. But like you said, if he was a big name guy, it would have been a bigger story, and it would have been talked about of how he's not being a good role model for these kids
Easily.
and these other players that look up to them.
What doesn't help either is he unfortunately like he's playing for the Chicago Bears. Like yes, they're kind of a big market team, but imagine if he was playing for like a Dallas or a New York. The suspension would be much
Yeah,
bigger than what he got.
absolutely, absolutely. Like you said, big name teams, more eyes on it, um, more television and things like that. So yeah, it would have been a lot more serious if it was on a bigger name team.
Easily. But what the leagues are doing, I definitely feel like they're doing the right precautions that they need to. They're limiting the fans. They're trying to get their players to kind of stay safe, stay locked up, and they're definitely doing the best steps they can. But it has to be a group effort. It can't just be the owners and all that. The players got to be with them.
Absolutely. It's like you said, it's a group effort. It's got to be everyone as one. If everyone can understand the goal and contribute to it, then there will be no problems and everything will work out smoothly.
Easily. All right, Sean.
Yep.
I think that will do it. We get to get a lot in there for it. Anything you want to plug while you're here?
Just if first of all, thank you for having me. I appreciate you having me. You're doing a
Anytime
great
you want to
job.
swing by, you
Um,
let me know. You're coming on.
Absolutely. And I definitely want to have you come join us on Jones of Sports podcast. For anybody that doesn't know, I also do podcasts, Jones of Sports. Uh, um, you can find us on social media at Jones of Sports. So, other than that, thank you for having me, man. You're doing a great job. And I would love to come back on very soon to talk some more sports with you.
Easily. You let me know. I'll plan a day. There's one other invite I want to give you. A lot of the people who listen, I tell them always, we have a stream called Dudes on the Couch where we go on Twitch. We play amazing video games and just have a good time. If you ever want to come
So,
by and play some games, feel free to hit us up.
absolutely. Sounds good, man.
All right, man. It was a good time. I hope everyone enjoyed listening today. We got a lot to cover, and we will be back hopefully on Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm sorry. We record Tuesday. We'll be back Wednesday. We'll probably have my buddy Cary back. Maybe Sean will come back and join us again. And besides that, enjoy the rest of your day.
Peace.